hotel, and where we usually stay, Premier Rus Hotel. And we will show you around, we will show you the currency exchange, we will show you what are the prices in Kiev, and what a beautiful sunny weather today that will help you with us.
Hello guys! Here is the Independence Square, and there is the heart of Kiev city. There are a lot of things to see. There are a lot of restaurants with Ukrainian national food, and not only. Also, you can find Italian and Georgian, and possible you will find even something more interesting. There are a lot of shoppings here. Downstairs there is a big shopping mall. You can buy their brands from the whole world. Also, there are hotels where you can live in. Welcome to our Kiev! You can rent apartment, you can live in Hayat or Ukraine or Dnipro or Hrestyatик, and I'm sure you will like all these places. Now we are in a very beautiful restaurant with a great view. You can look at right now. And as you see, everything is available. Restaurants are open, squares are open, and our Kiev staff and people in Ukraine are waiting for you very, very much. Welcome to our Kiev.
One of my most favorite places is this new pedestrian bridge, which was recently opened. It is connecting the Arch of Friendship of all nations together with St. Volodymyr Hill, which is right there. The bridge gives you a wonderful view to the city center on one side and the Dnieper River on the other. Even the weather is welcoming you. Let's also walk through the streets of Vozdvizhenka and take a look at this nice but a little bit fake historical building.
Hello guys, my name is Victoria. I'm office manager of AFA Kiev office. I'm happy to greet you finally. We reopened, we start our full functioning work. We attracted many new ladies profiles. We had a service like Skype calls, video calls to help you to be in contact with people and women you like and whom you plan to meet in the future in Kiev when the flights will be resumed. And I'm sure that ladies are willing and ready to finally go for dates and communicate with you in real time, in real life.
You are very welcome.
Our favorite McDonald's is open, so we are ready to go and try our favorite Big Mac. Welcome!
Hello, Yulia. I'm glad that you came today to have a coffee with us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you for inviting me for today's interview. Yes.
All right, gentlemen. It's another Monday night. These things seem to be coming faster and faster all the time. Time goes really quick, but here we are again, another Monday night, 13th of July. I'm glad all of you are with us here. We're going to be talking about all things international dating. My name is John Adams, co-founder of Foreign Affair, and I will be with you tonight again. I know, you'd rather have a beautiful woman here instead of me. I get that. I think that's going to happen here very soon. The girls will be back here, but for now you're stuck with me, so get used to it for the next hour. Sorry, but I'll do my best and try to give you as much information as I have about all the wonderful things going on in the new post-COVID environment. Yeah. All right, so speaking of that, we're supposed to be right in the middle now of our July tour, right? That should have been going on. That should have left, well, I think it was the 9th of July it was scheduled for. But unfortunately, we had to cancel that because of the COVID issues. And we're still hoping that we could possibly do a September tour. So the latest news that I have to give you about at least travel to the Ukraine as it relates to COVID, because we have a gentleman who just went 2 days ago, and he did get in. I talked about this last week where he wasn't able to transit through the EU, but the EU decided, oh, we made a mistake. You can travel through the EU or transit through. So they screwed up. And so he was able to go back, and he did make it through Amsterdam, and he did get to the Ukraine. Now, he chose the option of doing the COVID test, which you're supposed to be able to do right at the airport. And then you go to the hotel, wait a day or two for the results while you're self-quarantining in the hotel until you get those results. Unfortunately, when he got there, that facility at the airport was closed. So they let him go to the hotel, and they told him a doctor would come and give him the test, which happened. So that next day the doctor came, gave him the test. In the meantime, they put an app on his phone, and he was required to self-quarantine in his hotel until they got the results of the test. Well, I just talked to him a few minutes ago, and after 48 hours, he did get the results of the test, and it is negative. And now he is free to go about his business in the Ukraine, okay? So guys, that's how it's working right now. For any of you that want to try and go and do some individual introductions or the club, you can do that. Our offices are open, and you are able to do that. Now, just know there's a higher risk. Whenever you go outside of your house, someone asked me, well, John, do you think it's safe to travel on the plane? Well, I mean, there's a risk of doing anything, and definitely a higher risk of possibly contracting COVID if you decide to go and fly in a plane and interact with other people, right? If you stay in your house in a bubble, then the risk is much less. So, you know, you have to understand that. And if you decide to do something like this, you can, but obviously you put yourself at a little bit more of a risk. And, you know, you don't know how the rules are going to change. You know, you could get there, and then tomorrow they could say, oh, we're going to stop all flights again, and do this or do that. You know, it's very fluid right now, and you have to understand that if you're going to decide to go and do this. But our offices are there, and they can work with you. Is every woman going to be happy to see an American coming from the one place, especially coming from Arizona, which I guess we have more cases than any place in the world? Yay! You know, we do something right here, I guess, in Arizona. Or wrong, however you want to look at it. So anyways, yeah, are they going to be head over heels, ready to go and meet you, considering you're coming from a country that has more COVID cases than any other country in the world? Maybe not. It just depends. I think some may have reservations about it, but I think, in my opinion, the majority of the women will still be able to go out. You might wear a mask. I mean, that's the world that we live in right now. I got a picture back from a gentleman who was in Mexico doing a date, and they were both wearing masks. It looked like a masquerade mall or a masquerade party. All right, so that's the latest update for the Ukraine. So you can get there. You can do the club. You can do one-on-one introductions, and we're more than happy to help you with that. As far as going to Colombia or Costa Rica or Peru, none of those are open yet, so you cannot go there right now. Mexico, one day they're open, the next day they're not, so you're going to have to play that by ear and check. Philippines, forget about it right now. You cannot get there as well. China, no. Thailand, possibility, but not really yet for foreigners from the United States. They're opening, and I'm still not sure where we're going to be at with that Thai tour. Still not sure we're going to be at with the September Ukraine tour. We're hoping that that's going to be a possibility, given the way the Ukraine seems to be opening up a little bit, but yet I'm still not sure, because if we have guys stuck in their hotel for 2 or 3 days before they even start moving around, that really puts a damper on a 10-day tour. So we'll have to see what we can do with that. And we will as it gets closer. But right now, as of the 13th of July, we're still not sure with the tours that you see on the board right now, whether they're going to be a go or not. We've already canceled some of them. Okay, so that is your Monday COVID update that we have to do. but it's looking a little more positive, right? I mean, at least we're getting people into the Ukraine. I've got 2 or 3 guys over there that are doing dates and whatnot in Odessa and in Kiev and places like that. So, you know, that's great news. And I'd love to see Latin America start opening up more in Asia. So we'll see. But it's moving towards that direction, slowly but surely. All right. Another little bit of piece of housekeeping before we move forward to your questions. And the topic of tonight is going to be about the seminar coming up, and that's going to be on the 24th, which is not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday. Okay. And we're going to do the seminar. It was scheduled for Los Angeles, but we're going to do it virtually because of all this COVID stuff going on. I don't even think we're allowed to leave Arizona anymore. Seems like, unless we, shelter for 2 weeks or something like that. So we're just going to stay here and we're going to do it virtually, which is kind of good news for you guys, because if you don't live in California, you can join the virtual seminar and still be eligible for the seminar-only discounts if you decide to do something with us during that time that we're doing the seminar. So it's a great opportunity. Yeah, we don't get to meet in person. I would love to do that. I love the energy of you guys. I love meeting with you all in person, but just can't do it right now. So we'll do the virtual seminar. If you want to join that seminar, you need to go to the seminar page and RSVP. And once you do that, as it gets closer, you will be sent information and a link as to how to join it so that you can join that seminar. It'll be about 3 to 4 hour seminar. We're going to talk about everything we normally would in an in-person seminar, yet you can do it in your pajamas at home. You don't have to get all dressed up like you guys always do. Yeah, right. You don't have to get into that tuxedo to come to the hotel conference room where we normally hold them. It's much more comfortable maybe for you to watch it from home. You'll still get a lot of great information, and we'll have guests on, and we'll talk about all things, international dating as it relates to the group tours mainly. And it's a great opportunity to get a lot of good information about it and save quite a bit of money because of those seminar-only discounts that, because you are there, you will be eligible for. Okay? So keep that in mind. All right, we have a fun show here, I think, for you tonight. We're going to be talking about some of the mistakes. I'm going to call it like the top 5 mistakes, although I think I got 6, and I could probably come up with 20. But let's just I don't know, editor's sake here, let's call it the top 5 mistakes that gentlemen make when bringing a woman over from wherever over is to their country, wherever their country is, right? So you're doing, say, a fiancé visa, or maybe you got married there, and you're bringing her to your country. That's a big step, guys. That's huge. You did it, right? Congratulations. You did it. You found what you think is the perfect woman for you, and hopefully she thinks you're the perfect man for her. And now you're beginning that journey. You're actually doing it. What I did and what thousands of others after me and before me have done, which is bring a woman over from another country and start that whole process of, getting married and, the whole thing. And I'm going to talk about some of the mistakes that men make during that process. And really, I'm kind of focusing on the very beginning. So let's call it that 90-day fiancé visa process. What are the mistakes that guys make during that 90-day fiancé visa process that can sabotage or have a negative effect on the whole relationship, right? So we're going to talk about those tonight. And, as a poll question, if you guys want to chime in, you can actually ask, or I'd like to ask you, what part of your country would you like to show off to your foreign bride first, or even what would you like to do when she gets here first? Like, what's one of the first things that is on your agenda to do when she comes over, right? Is it to introduce her to your family right away? Every family member you've ever had, like second and third cousins, you're going to show her off to everybody? Or is it to take her to the Grand Canyon or to Disneyland or to New York? Or what is it that you really want to do with her when she comes? Because I know what it's like, guys. I did it. I went through this, and I know what it's like. You're so excited about her coming over. You want to share everything all at once. And that's a mistake, actually, that I learned. You don't want to do that because it's just too overwhelming. This is a huge process for her. The best, if you don't listen to anything else I ever say, listen to this. One of the best pieces of advice I can give you is to put yourself in her place. Try to put yourself in her shoes. And I know that's tough because those are like small high heel things, right? But try to put yourself in her shoes and try to understand what it's like to leave your family behind, to leave your friends behind, to leave the life that you've known all your life behind, and go forward with a man who you haven't known for very long, and you haven't really had the opportunity to get to know him as well as you would like, possibly because maybe you met him once during, say, the tour, and then maybe he's come over and spent some time with you, and yes, you chatted back and forth constantly, you talked constantly, but you maybe have not had the same interaction with him as much as you might have had with someone from your own country, right? And so this woman is doing all that, and she's leaving everything that she's known, the security, the friendships, the family, and everything. She's coming and putting all of her trust in you, and she's coming to your country, a country that she's not that familiar with, if at all. The different culture, the different way that they dress, the different food, the different everything. And she's doing it because she wants to start a family with you. And my wife did that for me. And I think that's an amazing thing. And I try never to lose sight of that she did all that for me. And it wasn't easy for her to adapt to everything that she had to adapt to. And I know because I lived in Russia for a couple months off and on. And for me to adapt to that life was very difficult. I mean, even for me to take a bus ride was difficult. I was afraid I was going to get arrested. I was running away from the bus police all the time. Just ask Tanya. She still laughs about it. But I was scared. Those bus police are nasty out there. Yeah, it's a long story. But all I can tell you is when you go to a foreign country and you're not that used to it, especially when you're going to live, yeah, it's a very difficult step. And everything that we can do as the man to help her feel more comfortable, we should do. And so we're going to talk about some of those things tonight. And so I want to get a little bit of your input so that you're thinking about that. So when you meet her, right? Because we do a lot of talking about how to meet, what to do, all that stuff, but we don't talk enough, I think, about what to do after you meet her to make sure that we don't sabotage ourselves, shoot ourselves in the foot, so to speak, right? We don't want to do that. We didn't spend all this time, effort, money, everything to try to find Miss Right, only to blow it when she comes here. And I think a lot of sites just really don't give you that kind of information. And I'm somewhat qualified, I think, to speak about it since I've gone through it all and I've seen hundreds and hundreds of other guys go through it, and I've talked with them and I've learned a lot about what to do and what not to do over the years. So hopefully I can give you a little bit of insight into this, okay? So that should be a fun show tonight. So we're going to get into all that. We also have a new, never before seen video clip that was just done from our Kiev staff that's showing you a little bit around Kiev, right, Kirk? It's showing you the restaurants and I think some other sites and whatnot. And just to give you a little bit of a taste of what you're missing, because I know you guys are just jonesing to get over there, right? You're just like, oh, we really want to go. I really want to go. And you're just like, you know, going through withdrawals about trying to get back over there because I take your calls here all the time and I hear other people talking to you guys about it and I know you want to get over there. And, you know, we're one of the very few companies that actually push you to go over there and do this. And so we want you to get there as soon as possible. So we want to give you just a little taste of what you're missing. And so we'll have that video for you in just about another, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. So keep watching and we'll get the video up in just a little bit. All right. In the meantime, I want to get to some of your questions and all that good stuff. You guys already have a ton of questions, so that's great. And then I'm going to get to my topic a little bit. So I'll answer a few of your questions. We'll get to the topic. We'll go back to your questions, that kind of thing. All right. Let's go here with Dean from Littleton, Colorado. I've been to Littleton, Colorado, actually. Nice little town there, Littleton. All right. Dean wants to know, what's the real estate market like in the Ukraine? What resources might be available to support American men considering moving to the Ukraine? And what advice do you have for American men who are considering moving to the Ukraine? Thanks for these awesome webcasts. Well, thank you, Dean. I appreciate that. You know, the real estate market in the Ukraine is up and down, just like any other market right now. And I haven't really looked at it very closely lately. You know, we've dabbled with it over the years. And it's always been, actually, given how unstable the economy and everything can be in the Ukraine, the market over the last 10, 15 years has been fairly stable. and not too bad. And I think buying, and I've had many clients that have bought property in the Ukraine. You can buy it as an American in your name. You don't have to have a Ukrainian buying it. You can do that. And if you're really thinking about moving over there, this is what I would suggest first. I would suggest that you go over and rent a place for a month or two and just start getting an idea of what's really going on. Get a couple different real estate agents. Our office can give you some awesome recommendations of people that will be honest with you, work with you, and get a really good feel for what's really going on before you go out there and buy something. I've had guys that just go over there and buy something right away. Always blows my mind. Maybe I'm just too cautious, but I think you should go over, rent a place for a couple months, stay there, and really learn about it before you invest into purchasing a property there. And again, our staff can give you advice, and they can find people who are experts in the real estate industry there and help you try to find something that's going to fit for what you really want and be right for you. And as far as moving to the Ukraine, you know, American men or anybody who wants to move there, we've had clients that have moved there and lived there, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity, depending on where you want to go. And again, I would strongly advise you to talk to our staff before you do that and ask them all the questions that are important to you. You know, look at things like from a tax perspective, how is that going to affect you? Look at things from a visa perspective. What do you need to stay there beyond the regular tourist visa, which you don't need a tourist visa to go there, right? But when you go there, you basically are on a tourist visa, but you just didn't have to actually physically go and get it. So you can only stay there for a certain amount of time. I think it's like 90 days. And then you need to get a more permanent type visa, a more formal visa to actually stay in the Ukraine. So these are all things that you have to do. Last time I was there, we did have a gentleman who was living there for like a couple of years, but he had overstayed his quote unquote visa that he had, and they were basically deporting him because he stayed there too long. Now he's going back, and he had to get a lawyer and get it all settled. So you want to make sure you do it correctly. And get all the rules, and it's not that difficult, and you can get a lot of help from our staff. Again, we're happy to help, and we love it when you guys do stuff like that and move to the countries, and we get a lot of you guys that do that, and the women love that too, because now they can find their man and not have to leave their own country. You know, I hear all these, oh, they just want to get to the United States, and yeah, right. They just want to find the right guy, right? And if they can stay in their country with their friends and their family and everything, and their guy lived there, they're just as happy to do that. So yeah, if you can do that, I think it's great. It'll make the woman very happy as well. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't get her citizenship here and get her a green card and all that, so that you can go back and forth with her, and I'm sure you'd want to do that. But it just gives you more flexibility. And not everyone can afford to move to the Ukraine. Not everyone's job will allow that, right? You got to have a kind of a special niche, be able to work online, probably that kind of thing. But if you can swing it, Dean, I think it's great. So give us a call if you ever need more information or more help, and I'll hook you up with the people that can give you the information. All right. Bill says, hello, I live in Rochester, New Hampshire. If I fly to the Ukraine in August, would I have to quarantine when I return? Couldn't tell you that, Bill. What I would do is I would talk to your health department in New Hampshire and ask them that question and see what they tell you and how they're treating people that are coming from different countries, and if they're forcing them to quarantine or not. The problem, and I wish I could tell you, Bill, but the problem is that we don't have a unified federal response right now to the COVID situation. It's really a state by state, in a lot of cases, city by city response. And everyone's different, right? And I'm not going to get into the whole politics of it all, because I really don't care. All I know is that factually, we don't have one response to this COVID situation. And so when you come back to the country, when you come back to your state, when you come back to your city, there might be all kinds of different levels or all kinds of different restrictions based on the level that you're dealing with, whether it's city, state, county, and then national. And that's just what we have to navigate through, unfortunately. So all I can tell you is, depending on where you live, I would contact my local health department and say, hey, I'm thinking about going to the Ukraine. When I come back, you can let me back? And if you do, what are the conditions of you letting me back? And see what they say. And no matter what they say, keep in mind, it may change by the time you get back. It's just the way this is. It's very fluid, ever changing, and you know, yeah, until we really get this more under control, I think it's going to be the way it's going to be. All right, I want to get a ton more questions here, guys. I'm going to get to them, but I also want to get to some of my emails here. So hold on one second. Let me find that section that I have there. Hold on. There we go. All right. Number one, let's talk about the 5 mistakes that guys tend to make when they bring someone over. This is really something that happens before she comes over, but can really kill the relationship once she gets here. All right, this is probably one of the biggest things I see that causes issues. Being unrealistic about what your life is really like, about what she can expect, right? Sometimes guys, and we all do it, right? We all kind of embellish a little bit about who we are and what we are and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with a little puffing now and then. But if you materially, let's say, misrepresent what your life is like, and you may even do it unconsciously, right? You're over there and you're kind of on vacation, so you're going out to restaurants all the time and you're in party mode. It's the party guy. And you're out there being Mr. Party Guy, and you're in party mode, and you're doing all kinds of fun stuff and romantic stuff, and that's great. And you're not too worried about work or anything because it's, you know, at home, and you're over here, and you're on vacation for these 2 weeks. But then when she comes, Party Guy is gone, and it's Work Guy, and it's Mr. Responsibility Guy, which is fine. You got to have both. But if what she's expecting is Party Guy all the time, and we didn't talk about, you know, Work Guy and Mr. Responsibility Guy, then there's going to be a problem there. There's going to be, you know, this is not going to fit, right? So you really, really need to make sure that before she comes over, you guys talk a little bit about what life is really like, right? What she can expect, what's realistic. Because if she comes over and, you know, it's not what she thought it was going to be like, there could be problems. You know, do things like show her photos of where you live. Talk about what your day-to-day life really is like. I affectionately call it the dirty underwear stage, right? It's not like when we're just going out to restaurants and we're partying, we're having fun, and we're in that very, very early romance stage. She came over here. She moved all her stuff. She's looking at everything. She's like, what is really going on, right? And when she gets here, you know, if you're a workaholic and you're leaving her at home 13 hours a day, 10, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, stuff like that, and she has to fend for herself, especially at the very beginning, that's going to be hard. It'd be hard on anyone. But for someone coming from a foreign country who's not that, you know, used to being here and is not adept to moving around, that's going to be very, very difficult. So have a very realistic kind of coming to Jesus talk with her before she comes here about what's really your life is really all about and what she can expect. And she needs to do the same thing with you, right? You know, she may, while you're at this very early stage, be acting in a way that when she comes over may totally change. And so she needs to also be really realistic with you so that when she comes, you're not taken aback at, oh, wait a minute, this wasn't, you know, what I thought it was going to be like either. So that whole thing about being really realistic up front, when Tanya and I, you know, we're going through this process, you know, we had long conversations about what she would do when she got here, and she wasn't really sure. And I kept saying, well, what do you really want to do? And, you know, and I tried to tell her as much as I could what my life was about when she got here. And I don't think I did a good enough job, and I don't think I tried hard enough, and I could have done a much better job of maybe being more realistic about what life really is like when she got here. And, you know, but she went through it, and she did great. But I think looking back on it, I probably could have done more to support her and help her. And yeah, so just keep that in mind, guys. That's something that's really, really important and will help and go a long ways towards making the relationship just stronger and that whole 90-day fiance process much easier for everyone if really realistic expectations are set from the get-go and we understand what's really going on, okay? So that's number one, and I would really think about that. I know it sounds obvious, right? But a lot of guys, you know, I listen to stories and I hear that, well, why didn't you tell her about that? One story I could tell you, and I won't mention any names, but we had a client that was really into the nudist lifestyle. Well, he kind of failed to tell the woman that he liked to enjoy the nudist lifestyle. This wasn't like a deviant sexual thing. It was just nudism, right? And people do that. They live this nudist lifestyle. But he really didn't talk about it to her before she came over. And then he kind of sprung it on her when she got here. Well, that's a mistake, right? There's nothing wrong with having that lifestyle. You can have that lifestyle if you like, but you really should have told her about it before she got on the plane and came over, right? Those are the kind of things I'm talking about. Be realistic, and if there's something about your lifestyle that you're not sharing with her that is material, share it with her. If you're an over-the-road truck driver and you're gone 3 days, out of the week or a week out of the month, you might want to share that with her before you bring her over. These kind of things are important and they will affect the relationship. And they're going to come up. And you may not want to talk about it because you may think it might be negative. But trust me, if you don't talk about it up front, the shock and the negativity is going to be magnified when she finds out about it when she's here. And it's just going to be problematic. So you might as well deal with any issues that you think you might have up front. Disclosure, disclosure, disclosure. It's an old real estate axiom, but it holds true here too. Always, always disclose everything. And that way you're being just totally honest up front. And guess what? It will bring you closer together. It really will. All right? And the second thing, and this kind of is about the unrealistic, and I kind of touched on this already, but it's not asking her, really understanding what she would like to do when she comes here. Does she want to stay home? Does she want to does she want to be a homemaker? Does she want to, raise children? You're not going to probably have children right away. So what is it that she wants to do? Because, she's going to be here. She's not going to have that same infrastructure that she had and she was used to where she was. And so what is it that she really wants to do when she comes here? Was she an attorney there? Does she want to be an attorney here? If so, you need to look at what the state's regulations are for her and what education will be accepted for her when she comes here and help her with that. And then when she gets here, support her in that if that's what she wants to do and if you're okay with that. If you don't want someone who wants a career like being an attorney or a doctor or a real estate agent or whatever it is, then you need to talk about that right away and make sure that both of you are on the same page. Both of you have a very good understanding of what it is, at least the best understanding you can, of what it is that she wants to do when she comes here. And you need to be as supportive as possible of that if you're going to bring her here, right? One way or the other. And it might be that she just wants to stay home and be a homemaker, but wants to volunteer twice a week just to get out of the house, just to have input from other people, which I think is healthy. Even if she wants to be a homemaker, right, and stay home, raise children, do that, that's great. But maybe she does want to get out of the house once a week or a few times a week, and she wants to volunteer at the hospital or volunteer at the dog shelter or whatever it is that she wants to do that's going to fulfill her. Because guys, she needs to have her fulfillment coming from herself, not from you. And when she comes over here, a lot of it's going to be coming from you at the very beginning, and that's fine at the very beginning, but that's not going to be fine in the long run. She's going to need to find what she's going to do on her own that's going to fulfill her, that you can help her with, that you can support her with, but you have all your things that you do that fulfill you. She needs to find those things that she does that fulfills her too, and then you come together as a team and you talk about those different things that you're helping each other with, and that's how a healthy relationship grows. It's not one person being ultra dependent on the other. And that's not a healthy relationship, and that usually will not end well. Okay? All right. Let's get back to some of your questions, and then we'll come back to a few more of these points that I am bringing up here. Okay. Let's see here. Can I come from the U.S. to Kyiv anytime soon? You can go tomorrow. We just talked about it. All you have to do is be willing to get on a plane, go over there, and then when you get there, you have to be willing to pay for the test. And by the way, from what I understand, it's about 1,800 hryvnia to take the test. I believe the hryvnia to dollar is about 26 to the dollar right now, something around there. So it's under $100 for the test. Figure about $75 or so to take the test. So, yeah, if you're going to go, you can do that. And then if you're test negative, they'll let you out of the quarantine after a couple days. And then you can go out and you can do the dates and things like that. That's the way it's working right now, as I'm talking right now. Now, can they change that as soon as the show is over? Absolutely. So you need to check with your travel, check with the airline, make sure everything's good. But from my information, as best as it is, that's what you can do now. But don't call me and tell me, oh, John, they wouldn't let me in, blah, blah, and be mad at me. I'm just giving you what's going on as far as I know right now, okay? Let's keep going here. Yeah, and Ryan wants to know, did your traveler make it to Kyiv last week? Yeah, he just got there a couple days ago. He's the one I'm talking about. He got pushed back the first time because the airlines didn't know their own rules, and they mistakenly told him that he could not transit through Germany. And then after a day, they apologized and said, oh yeah, I guess you could have, and sorry, our bad. And then they got him over there. So, yeah. But I don't really blame the airlines. There's just so much misinformation and so many things going on and changing so quickly that, I don't think it was really their fault. It's just a lot of information, a lot of things changing quickly. And that's why I keep telling you guys, and I keep kind of, just kind of hedging my bet a little bit about what I'm saying, because things are changing quickly. And even though what I'm saying right now may change right away. So you got to be careful. Whatever plans you make, be ready to change them, because that's just the way travel is right now. Crazy. Chuck wants to know, for the Colombian tours, will ladies from Bogota travel to the tourist cities such as Medellin? Which of the tourist cities will they travel to? Chuck, I got to tell you, probably none of them. If you're writing someone in Bogota and you expect her to travel to Medellin or Cartagena or Barranquilla, where our offices are and where we do the tours, especially if they really don't know you at all, you just put their ID number down on a list for us to try to contact and see if she's willing to meet. Chances are no. They're not going to travel all the way to those cities to go to the social. Excuse me. Now, if you have been corresponding with them, and if you have a really good connection with them, and if you can tell them, hey, I'm going to be in Medellin, would you be willing to come see me here? And maybe you would help them with their travel or lodging or something, then yeah, there's a possibility. I've seen that happen before. That's possible. But just to give us like an ID number and say, hey, see if this one will come to the social, probably not. Once in a while, someone, some of the women, if we invite them, may come, but no, not as a rule, no. Yeah. All right. Glenn, if a person plans to travel to Cancun and wants to use the service to meet women from Mexico, how does that work? Yeah, we just had someone there last week that was meeting women there. We have an affiliate there, and if you're going to go, give us plenty of notice. Don't call me on the weekend, tell me you're there and you're leaving Monday. We just had that happen too, and that's tough to do. But so give me plenty of notice, give us plenty of notice, and we will put you in touch with our affiliate. We do have an affiliate there, and they can help you try to make those arrangements when you go. It'll just be one-on-one introductions. McKissick wants to know, his answer to the poll question is, I would show her the San Francisco Bay Area first, since I live here. Los Angeles area would be next. A destination wedding at Waimea Falls, Hawaii would be nice. Cool. Well, most of the women are going to fall in love with the San Francisco Bay Area, so I think you're fine there. LA, yeah, that'd be okay. I mean, I probably prefer San Francisco over LA. But my sister lives in that area, so I know it a little bit better than LA. But yeah, just showing her around California, that's great. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially since you live there. You're going to be showing her around, and that's a wonderful area. I guess what I was trying to get at is don't do too much too fast. The first day or two she gets here, just chill right in your neighborhood. Kind of show her around your neighborhood a little bit, and then slowly go out, right? And slowly start showing her some of the other stuff. Don't take her on a 8-hour excursion of San Francisco the first day she gets there. She's going to have jet lag. She's going to be a little bit just difficult time to transition. It really is when they first come here, and the trip itself and all the feelings and leaving their family and friends behind. I mean, it's very difficult. There's so many different feelings that they are feeling and going through them that you have to try and understand that from their perspective. Hard for them to do this, and I have so much respect for my wife and others who did that, put themselves through that. I mean, when my wife came here, guys, she came with all her boxes. Her grandmother's china, her mother's plants, which you're not supposed to do, and we got in big trouble at the airport. And her mother's deli. She packed a deli of food for her, all the Russian food and the cheeses and the sausages, and they were pulling them all out of customs because they pulled us over because she had 7 boxes. Back then you could go with a lot more stuff, right? Because she brought everything. She brought her, TV, her VCR, because it was PAL system, which was a different system than our VCRs. And she brought all this stuff over. I mean, she was committed. She was coming. She was not going back. And I think that's so cool, and I have so much respect for her, because that's not easy to do. So yeah, just take it slow though, and I did. I showed her around Phoenix a little bit. It's funny, I took her to this fast food Mexican food place. Believe me, they don't have, and they still don't have anything like that in Russia. And it's called Filiberto's, for you guys that know that. You have out in California too, I know, and they're in Arizona and other places. And she got this big old fish burrito. And she thought that was the best thing she ever had. She's like, oh my God, this fish burrito. I'm like, you like that? She loved it. And she still eats it sometime to this day. But it was so funny. That's the one thing that she really liked, was this thing she never had before, this big fish burrito from Filiberto's. Loved it. God, it brings tears to my eyes. That was so cool. Guys, we met. This is July. We met 23 years ago to this month at one of the socials in St. Petersburg. And I still remember it. I still remember it like it was yesterday. So cool. That's why I keep telling you guys, don't write. You don't have to write letters. They don't want a pen pal. They want to meet. Go over and meet. Yeah, I know, COVID. Okay, COVID's not going to be here forever. So, you can go right now to the Ukraine. There's guys over there now. You can go and you can meet. And I know you can't get to Latin America and Asia very easily right now, but you can at least get to the Ukraine and go individually. And I know it's better to go on a group tour. I always say that. And so just wait. But you don't have to sit there and spend tons of money writing in the meantime. You really don't. You can go over and you can meet in person. And it's so much better. I never wrote a single letter, and I was able to meet Tanya at the social in St. Petersburg at the Pribaltskaya Hotel. I remember it like it was yesterday. And it was fantastic. And she was at a table with 4 or 5 other women, and they all met and married their husbands through a foreign affair that they met via those socials. Great. All right. Well, I'm getting teary-eyed, guys. I'm getting teary-eyed. All right, I'm going to go. Oh, we got to show that video I talked about. We got a video. Yeah, we're reminiscing about it. So let's go to that video, and this will give you a little taste of the Ukraine, at least. We should do one next week, maybe from Colombia. And then we'll do one from China, and we'll do one from the other one. So we should probably switch it off here, but we're going to start with the Ukraine. Leonard, I think you're probably listening. You should probably get us one for Bangkok, so we can show the guys a little bit more about Bangkok. But right now, we have Kiev, Ukraine. Let's take a quick listen and look at what they came up with.
Hello guys! My name is Oля, and today I will tell you a little about our religions and what is ladies' attitude to this issue. Ukraine is a country with long and interesting history. And historically, it happens that we are Orthodox. Possible you know that Volodymyr baptized Ukraine because he wanted to marry Anna, the daughter of King of Byzantia. You see, love changed the world. And I believe that if you want to change your life, you are here in Ukraine looking for your future wife. Right now we are near our office, and to find us it's very easy because we are located at Independence Square and subway of Maidan Nezalezhnosti. In any way, if you are in Ukraine, we will help you to find us. To find our office very easy, you can look at this McDonald's, remember it please. And if you see this McDonald's, you should understand that you are in the right way. Very close to our office there are a lot of nice restaurants. One Georgian restaurant I will show you right now. If you have very active schedule, you're very lucky because very close to our office there is a Georgian restaurant where you can eat very good tasty food. But if you have next meeting in 2 hours, you can just change location, go to Sushi Ya and to eat some sushi. Then possible you have third date, and then you can go to next place, which we will show you right now, and there you can try meals from our national food, but a little from the south of Ukraine. But I'm sure you will like it in any way. This place is Sushiya, where you can eat sushi and cream. If you have a very active schedule and you don't want to meet your previous date, you can just go behind the corner and visit this cozy place, Fina Familia. We love this restaurant very much and recommend it to you. And one more bonus for you. If you're a vegetarian, you can go a little and to go to Nevos. This place is vegetarian and I'm sure you will find a lot of tasty dishes. And welcome to our Kyiv.
All right, guys, so that was Olga. She's great, isn't she? So bubbly. I love her. She's got great personality and works really well with you guys. Actually, when you're over there, she does a great job of matchmaking and helping you find that right match. And restaurant, obviously. She knows lots of the restaurants around there. So there's lots of restaurants. Kiev is, I'm telling you, gastronomically, Kiev is great. The restaurants are so cool. Guys, stay away from the McDonald's and the KFCs and, you know, all the American stuff. Go to the Russian ones. Go to the Georgian restaurants. Oh my gosh, the Georgian restaurants are killer. Love those places, the food and the wine. And see, I got to get back to Kiev. I was there in February. I got to get back. All right, but I'm glad we were able to do that. Kirk, we got to get one from another country next week. Kirk's going to get on that. He'll get one from another country, and we'll get that. Either it's going to be Thailand or China or one of the Latin ones, but we're going to get a different country next week. All right. Okay, the third mistake. And again, these, you can see my theme here because a lot of these mistakes are all tying into each other. But my third mistake is not providing enough support for her when she's first there. Huge, guys, is providing the support. I'm not talking about financial support, right? I'm talking about emotional support. I'm talking about being there for them. Okay, she may not know the language so well. She may not, know anyone else there. You may be her only point of contact at the very beginning. So you need to be very patient and you need to show a lot of support and a lot of love for her during those first few weeks, those first few months. Those are going to be really, really important. That's going to be an extremely important time. And look, it's not, some guys make the mistake too of when they're showing support, they're trying to find, let's say she's coming from Colombia. They're trying to find other women who are only Colombian to introduce her to. And to me, that's a mistake. Yeah, you could take her to some of the the ethnic stores that sell Colombian food, or she's Russian to the Russian stores. We have a few Russian stores here. We have Colombian stores here. We have Asian stores. We have all that. And hopefully where you're coming from, they have some of those things too. And that's a good start. And that does help to make them feel a little bit more comfortable at home because they can get some of the food items that they're used to and all that good stuff. Food, they call it comfort food, and it does bring back memories and it makes them feel a little bit more at home. So doing that is great. But you also want to be very broad in showing them and introducing them to your other friends and letting them meet other people that are native to your own country, whether it's here in America or Australia or Canada or wherever it is. You want to not just guide them or steer them to people of their own ethnic background, but introduce them to people, a wide range of ethnic backgrounds, right? That to me is really, really important. And show them that support, help them while they're there, help them to get started on some of the things that they want to do. Give them a break when they first get there, let them take their time to acclimate and to adjust to everything, but then, at their own pace, whatever that pace is, and everyone's pace is going to be different, but whatever that is, start, helping them and supporting them to maybe it is learn how to drive. I mean, when Tanya first got here, she didn't know how to drive. And that really limited her on where she could go. She was used to walking everywhere in St. Petersburg and taking the great mass transit that they had. They had metros everywhere. So you get on a metro and boom, you're downtown in 20 minutes, right? And faster than driving. and her metro was only a 10-minute walk from her house. And once she was on that metro, she could go virtually anywhere in St. Petersburg. Well, if you've ever been to Phoenix, it doesn't work that way. We don't have a metro, and our bus system kind of sucks, and we just don't have a lot of mass transit. I guess we do have like a streetcar now they put in, but that's not really very efficient or effective. So, especially when she came here, there was no streetcar even. There was nothing except our bus lines, which did not run very often. And, take today, July, it's supposed to be 117 degrees out. It's not so fun sitting at a bus stop for 2 hours waiting for a bus when it's 117 degrees. But she managed it, and she did get around for a while on the bus because she did not want to learn how to drive right away. But then finally she did want to learn how to drive. She got brave because, as you get older, it gets a little bit more difficult. You're not quite as brave as you are when you're 16, 15, whatever it is, when you learn how to drive. But here's a tip, guys. If you're going to teach your fiance or your wife how to drive, hire somebody to do it and don't do it yourself. I learned that the hard way. I did it myself, and we got it done. And she's a great driver now, but there was a lot of crying, both by her and me, during that process. So if I were you, I would hire someone else to teach her. But she did great, and now she gets speeding tickets and everything. So yeah, it's wonderful. So it's support, it's teaching, it's helping, whether it's whatever it is, just show her that love, show her that support while she's there, and understand that you're going to have to do that, and schedule time for that for the first couple months. Doesn't mean you have to totally quit your job. She's going to understand that you have to work, but you're also going to have to spend a lot of time with her and helping her, and it should be a joyous thing. It should be a wonderful situation for both you and her. It shouldn't be a job. It shouldn't be a duty. It should be something you both want to do. Okay? All right. Let's keep going here. I want to get back to your questions and comments. Brian says, hey, John, what good news do you have of us? Hopefully something good. Oh, I told you, Brian, there is good news. I mean, the Ukraine is opening more. We have people there now. They can get in at least. Flights are going again there. That's good news. And I'm hoping that it's going to extrapolate into us doing tours here soon, so let's hope. All right. Blue says, poll question. Southern California, Disneyland, beach, and other things down here. Yeah, Southern California is cool. Disneyland, a lot of guys want to go to Disneyland, that kind of stuff. And I think that's fun. That's great. All that stuff is good. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the cool things about doing an international marriage, right? Is that you get to share all these things with her, and you get to experience them for the first time through her eyes with her again. And I love that with Tanya. When we go to places that maybe I've already been, but when I take Tanya, then I get to show her, and she gets to see it, and I get to see her perspective of it. And I think it's great. And it's really cool when Tanya and I can go to maybe another country or someplace that I've never been to either. We're visiting for the first time together. That's always fun too, because we both have different, takes and different things. And Tanya's a foodie. She loves going to the different restaurants, the local restaurants. She hates going to chain type restaurants. I don't know if she's ever even stepped a foot inside a Denny's or something like that. I mean, or McDonald's. I mean, I've never seen her eat a hamburger since she's been here. She likes to experience local cuisine, different things like that. And for her, that's really one of the great things about traveling and doing that kind of stuff. So we're always doing that when we have the opportunity, which hasn't really been much of that lately, right? All right, better to wait till next year at this rate. A second wave looks likely at this point. Hell, we're here in Arizona. We haven't gotten through the first wave yet. But all right, yeah, probably. Greg says I would show her the Willamette Valley in Oregon and then the Strip in Vegas, since I split in both, and then hop on the sailboat and head to Catalina Island. Woo! It's cool, Greg. That's fantastic. Oregon, beautiful. Vegas, yeah, Vegas is always fun. It's exciting. It's glamorous. It's glitzy. It's over the top. I wouldn't stay there for too long the first time. I would just give her a taste of it for maybe 2 or 3 nights and then get the heck out. When Tanya first came over, we had a scheduled layover, that is, since we were coming back to New York, that we stayed in New York for an extra couple days. And I think Tanya almost wanted to go back to St. Petersburg after that because it was almost too much for her. Even though St. Petersburg is a very large city, that was a lot for her to take in New York, and taxi cab drivers yelling at us and this and that. And she's like, oh my God. I'm like, you know, when we get to Phoenix town, it's a lot more laid back than New York. You know, New York can be overwhelming, and it was a little bit for her at first. But when we got to Phoenix, I think she enjoyed the kind of more laid back lifestyle that we have here in Phoenix compared to what you get in New York. All right. Let's see here. I hope the girls who meet for dates in the Ukraine get tested also. Yeah, I'm not sure that's happening, right? And so I can't tell you that they're getting tested. And so you got to be careful with that. That's what I mean. It's a risk. If you're going to go over, you're taking that risk, and you have to be up for that and be willing to do that. Now, you can ask our office to ask the woman before you meet if she's been tested. But even if she's been tested, say, a week ago, it doesn't mean she didn't pick it up in that time, right? So she'd almost have to be, and even if she got tested the day she met you, that's probably too soon for it to even show up in the test. So, you know, this whole thing about being tested is great, but I mean, it doesn't really help you if you get tested, say, 5 days ago, and then in 2 days it tells you, okay, you're fine, but then you encountered someone that happened to have it after that, and then you go out, right? I mean, you know, it's not like you're getting a vaccine. The test is not a vaccine. So just because it shows at that point in time that you didn't have it, it doesn't mean that you won't have it, you know, the day before you meet. I mean, it's just tough right now. And that works both ways for you too. You know, you can get tested before you go over, and then, you know, or, you know, they give you the test. So you're on the plane ride over, and they give you the test when you arrive. But from my understanding is that it takes a couple days for that to really set in, and the test would miss that. So if you caught it, let's say, on the plane ride over, they may say you're negative, but you may in fact not be negative. And I'm not a doctor, I'm just speculating. So whatever I say, you can probably just, you know, ignore. Whatever I say doesn't really matter when it comes to this, because I'm not a doctor. But these are just my thoughts, okay? All right. I always like to preface those things, because someone's going to come back and say, well, you said, hey, I'm just speculating. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. Whatever I say is probably wrong. But that's just my thoughts. All right. Chai Hawk says, would love to return to Peru or Ukraine this year, but it's beginning to look like next year, maybe more feasible at this point. Yeah, maybe. You know, it's a little dicey traveling right now. It really is. Although I would love for you guys to go over and meet, it is dicey right now. No doubt about it. David says the Governor College shut down a lot today. Yeah, and I think that's going to happen in Arizona too. I think they're going to shut down a lot more. They shut down bars, but that's about all, and gyms. But I think they're going to start shutting down more things here because, I mean, supposedly we're the worst in the world right now in Arizona. So, yeah. Chris says the guy needs to stay in the Ukraine because it's in America. It's getting pretty bad. Yeah, that's what my wife said. You know, she knows him very well. She said, yeah, you're going to probably be safer in Ukraine than you are here, which is probably true. All right. Ed says, one of the introductory videos has Ukraine women who says Ukraine ladies are looking for, among other things, security. Can you please elaborate on what this means? Do the Ukraine ladies understand that people work in the U.S., capitalism, and there is no security blanket as in Europe, Germany, Switzerland? Yeah, Edward, I understand what you're saying there. But if you understand where she's coming from in the Ukraine, it is much different than what you would get, say, in some place like Germany or Switzerland, where they have a much more almost socialized perspective on it. In the Ukraine, the government gives very little help for anything. But when they're talking about security, they're talking more about, you know, what your life is like. You know, are you, have you been unemployed for the past, 2 years? Are you living day to day, hand to mouth, or are you rather secure in your profession? Have you been working for quite some time? Do you have a house? Are you scrounging for rent money or the mortgage payment every month? That's what they're talking about, just basic security, not someone who's ultra rich, not someone who just never has to worry about working another day in their life. They understand that you have to work. My wife understands that very well. I've worked every day since she's known me almost. And she works quite a bit. She works very hard in multiple things and contributes to the household immensely, both financially, emotionally, lots of different ways. So they understand that, but she also does want security. She wants a man who is going to help her to provide security for the household, help her to be stable, to work, to do the kind of things that bring security. That's what they're talking about, right? So, yeah. All right. Donald says, good evening, John. Was just watching an older video being hosted by the very much missed Bud. If you are at liberty to comment, how's he doing? I talked to him several months ago, and he seemed to be doing fine. And so I haven't talked to him since then, but I imagine that he's doing fine, and we wish him all the best. All right. Len says, the first place you should see in Thailand is Bangkok. Number 2 is the incredible town of Hua Hin, and he just does this because he knows I can't pronounce anything. And number 3 is the island of Phuket. I can get Phuket down because I've been to Phuket. And I agree with Leonard, Phuket is fantastic. I haven't been to number 2 yet, but I do like Bangkok a lot. And I like Phuket a lot. Phuket is very, very serene, very, very beautiful, great place to go just to relax. There is one area of Phuket which is extremely wild and crazy, and you have to be really cautious and careful if you go there, I think. But you can talk to me privately about that. But the rest of Phuket is just sleepy, beautiful, gorgeous surroundings, gorgeous. And Bangkok is just, Bangkok's amazing, vibrant, just bustling city with all kinds of activity and restaurants and food and everything you could possibly want. Bangkok is amazing. You'll have a wonderful time there. All right. McKissick said eventually I would want to take her to a Vegas trip as well. Yeah, Vegas is great. Barry says, since I live in Brooklyn, New York, I'd love to first show her New York. So much to do here. Plus, I work next to the World Trade Center. It collapsed into my building. Oh my God. Thank God you were all right, Barry. I want her to know how 9/11 affected us. Yeah, I think that's great. The one thing I'll say about that, just because you brought up 9/11, Barry, is that I was in Russia at the time that 9/11 happened. Actually, we were scheduled to fly back to JFK the following day. And obviously, we were delayed by about 2 weeks after that happened. And I remember walking into that hotel lobby at the Polkowskaya Hotel, and they never had the TVs on in the lobby, but there were TVs mounted, but they were always dark. And for some reason, the TVs were on that day, and everyone was looking up at the TV, and that's when I learned about what was happening in New York. And I got to tell you, I was amazed at the outpouring of support I got as an American, just as being an American, from the Russians about what happened that day. I mean, it was amazing. People would come up to me on the street knowing that I was an American just by the way I walked, and would say, oh, I'm very sorry, what happened? I mean, like, it happened to me personally. It was personal. I'm American, right? Happened to all of us. It was very personal. But like, it happened to me, and just like, oh my God. The outpouring of support from the Russians was something I never imagined. And it was so great to see that it brought us so close together. And it was such a terrible thing to have happened. To see the love and the outpouring of support that came from that, though, was amazing. And I just wanted to share that because I don't really talk about that much. But it happened while we were there. Our family was there, and we had very young children at the time there with us. And I was in shock, obviously, as the rest of the world was. But the support from the international community was amazing. All right. Mark says, John, I would show around New York and some of the monuments. Yeah, it's great. Just watch out for those taxi cab drivers who are yelling like crazy that scared Tanya. And all the horns go off. She's like, why is everybody honking at everybody? I'm like, that's what they do in New York. They just honk. They don't really have to honk, they honk. Because in Phoenix, people don't honk much at all. And in St. Petersburg, they don't honk much. They just run you over. But in New York, they honk a lot. All right. Anchorman says, it would depend on part of Ukraine she's from, big city, town, or village. Yeah, okay. Wage Slave says, if I book a flight to an AFA event in Ukraine, I have to fly there 2 weeks prior for the mandatory 14-day quarantine? No, it just seems that they changed that to where now you can take a test at the airport or very shortly after, and within about 48 hours, if you're negative, you can go. You might have to quarantine for 2 or 3 days until your test results come back. But once those test results come back, you can go. You have to pay for the test. The test is about $75 or so, from what I understand. But once you do all that, then you can go. So you don't have to wait for 2 weeks anymore. That was something they were doing at the beginning, and now they changed it to this option where you can take the test, and if you are negative, then you can go. Okay? Sly says, John gives a man's view of the experience dating foreign women. I do. But what I like, Sly, is sometimes we do have the women on and they give the other view, which I really like, because all too often it's just a man's view. Well, the women like this and the women do this, and I'm guilty of that as well. Because that's the only view I have. I can't give you the woman's view because I'm not a woman. And so I understand where you're coming from on that, and that's why we try to get other people on, other women on, who give that view from their point of view. And I think it's great when we have Dina and we have Anna, Tanya, we have others on that give that view, and hopefully they're going to be back on here soon. Again, Arizona's getting worse and worse with the COVID situation, so we're a little limited as far as what we're doing for that. Okay. I'm going to get back now because we're already running out of time and I haven't gotten through my original list of things I want to talk about. Number 3 or 4, I guess, would be making sure she is proficient in the native language of where you are as soon as possible. So depending on where you're going, right? If you're going, if you live in the United States, she needs to speak English and she needs to do that as soon as possible. And you can do a lot to help that before she comes. You're probably going to have a good close to a year before she gets here once you decide she wants to come on a fiancé visa. And during that time, I highly, highly suggest that you invest in English lessons for her and you push her to do those English lessons, and you shouldn't have to push too hard. She should, as a show of her motivation, as a show of her readiness for coming over here, she should want to be learning the language because she's going to be coming here. It's great if you can pick it up a little bit. I mean, I'm fluent in Russian, yeah, right, but we won't go there. But it would be good if you could pick up a little bit, but that's not going to help her so much when she comes. Yeah, you can communicate with her, and that's wonderful, but she needs to be able to communicate with other people other than you when she's here in the United States, and you want her to be doing that. Thus, it's very important that she learns the native language as soon as possible. And if she's going to Australia, she's got to learn Australian, and I mean with that accent, right? Because you guys really don't speak English, or whether you speak Australian. It's different, right? Just kidding, but it's fun. I love your accent, don't get mad. Same with Texas. If you're going to Texas, don't just learn English, teach your Texan. Because you guys, my wife, when she goes to Texas, I have to translate for her half the time. It's funny. So yeah, try to get her immersed in that language as soon as possible. It will help immensely when she comes here. She can navigate, she can pick up the phone and order a pizza, and be comfortable doing that. Little things that you don't think about that she needs to be able to do when she gets here, right? Those little things. You want her to do that. You want her to be independent. And that's my next point. Number 5, a big mistake that people make, guys make, is not trying to help her to be as independent as possible, as quickly as possible. That's really, really important. I've had guys that, have waited years to teach her to drive. Or waited to get her the adjustment of status done, to get the green card going and all that stuff, to whatever it is. You want her to be independent. That's healthy. You don't want her to be dependent on you, because if she's always dependent on you, sooner or later she's going to come to resent that. And sooner or later you're going to come to resent that, right? You don't want to have to pick up the phone to order the pizza all the time because she can't. You don't want to be driving to drop off stuff because she can't. You don't want to be taking her everywhere because she can't go by herself. You don't want to be doing that all the time. At first, yeah, you're going to do that because it may be a necessity at first. But you want her to be on equal footing with you when it comes to all those things as soon as possible. And the only difference is maybe the language and a few of the cultural things. Maybe she doesn't know how to drive, all those things. Those are easily remedied if you want to do it, right? If you want to make those remedies, you can do that. And that's really, really important. So please, I beg of you, do everything you can to get her as independent as possible. I can tell you a quick little story about a gentleman who brought a woman over here, and she was what am I looking for? A go-getter. I can't talk anymore, I swear. She was a go-getter, and she really, really did a lot of work to support her family before she came here. When I say her family, her parents, right? Her siblings. And she did a lot of work, constantly working. She was a translator. She spoke good English. And then she married this gentleman who was very wealthy, and he supplied everything for her. And he made it to where she could sleep until 11 and just sit around the house, eat bonbons, do it. She had her own limo driver, didn't have to learn how to drive. The driver would take her anywhere. She could do whatever she wanted to do, didn't have to worry about anything, and they even had a child together. But after a while, I truly believe that she became to resent him because she kind of lost her identity in him. Everything was kind of through him, and she really didn't have to do anything. She didn't have to work. She didn't have to worry about anything. They had a maid. They had everything. They had a nanny. They had everything, and she really wasn't doing anything. I think he tried, but something was amiss there, and I don't think that at the beginning he tried enough to really get her independent. And that relationship ended in a divorce. And that's sad, but these divorces, they will happen. And so, you know, all I could tell you guys is it's very, very important to understand what your woman wants when she comes here, what your wife wants, what your fiance wants. And maybe she doesn't really know, and that's fine. Then you explore that path together. And you keep trying to find out what it is. You find different things. You look at different opportunities. But as long as you're being supportive and helpful, and you're trying to get her as independent as possible from you so that she is independent, and she's exploring her own path and doing her own things with your support, with your help, right? And then you can talk about those things together, as I said earlier, and you're doing your things, and she's talking to you, and she's helping you, and she's giving you advice, and you're giving her advice, and you're helping together. I know another couple who met and married through us, and they're doing wonderful things together because they both like doing the same things, and they're building this amazing, they did a lot of real estate flips and things like that, right, in Georgia. And now they're doing this kind of amazing bed and breakfast theme thing where they're both building it together. And she's got, you know, the overalls on, and she's painting and working with him, and he's building all this stuff together, and they're building these really cool themed cabins and stuff like this together, working together and doing this. Really cool stuff. And from the beginning, he was always very, very supportive of her, got her doing all kinds of things at the very beginning, and it turned out they could work together and do these things together. And that's what I'm talking about. And they have such a great relationship. They've been together for many years, and they have a wonderful daughter together, and it's great. So these are the things I'm talking about. All right. I'm going to get to the last point I have here, and then I'm going to finish up on your guys' comments and questions because we're already way over time. As usual, I'm terrible. You know, the last thing, I already talked about 5 things, and these are very general 5 things. So I could get into really more specifics and stuff like that. But if you cover these generalities I just talked about, you'll avoid a lot of pitfalls, believe it or not. I know they seem kind of obvious, but I hear a lot of people making those mistakes. So I guess they're not as obvious as you would think. But the last one, and I say this more for the women than anything else, but one of the problems that guys make, or one of the mistakes that guys make, is that they just don't have an understanding or appreciation for the sacrifice that she made to be with you, to leave her friends and family behind, to do everything that she did. And we as guys just don't appreciate that enough. We don't understand what that's like coming from her. So I beg of you guys, put yourself in her position and pretend like it's you who's making that transition to her. And you're leaving your friends and family behind. You're doing everything. And as a man, it might even be a little bit easier, because I think it's a little bit more difficult for women to do those things for a lot of different reasons. But still, try to imagine yourself doing that. And then imagine what she's doing. And imagine her coming here and everything that she's doing for you, for your relationship together, for both of you. And have that appreciation, and keep that appreciation there, you know, and let her know about it from time to time. Just bring her some flowers for no reason and say, you know, I appreciate everything you've done to make our relationship work. Those kind of things go a long, long way. Yeah, sure, you can get her flowers for Valentine's Day, for her birthday. Yeah, that's expected, and you're going to get it, and she can say, okay, well, you better have, because if you didn't, you know, you're going to sleep on the couch. But when you bring flowers home on a Tuesday night for no reason, that goes a lot farther. Okay. All right, enough of my preaching. Let's get back to your questions. Sorry, guys, I did have a little bit of Mountain Dew, so you know I like to preach when I do that. Okay, I'm way behind, so I have to go fast here. I'm just going to go really fast through here. Steve says, John, I'd like to show her the community college that is nearby, an extension program for beauticians, among other things, is walking distance to me at a satellite campus. My question is, would she need a social security number? I understand she can get one as soon as she arrives. Yeah, she can get one. If she's going to work or do anything like that, she can actually work. From what I understand, you got to verify this with the attorney, but I understand she can work on a fiancé visa if she says that she wants to work. At least that's the way it was. And she can get a social security number, which will allow her to do that. And so, yeah, you'll need to do that. McKissick says, would a lady be able to drive with her Colombian or Ukrainian driver's license, at least initially? From what I understand, she can, but you need to get her a local driver's license as soon as possible. You can get a nice apartment in Kiev in the center for $600 a month. Yeah, you can. Right now, it's a little bit less expensive than it used to be. So, yes, you're right. Dean from Littleton again. What's a reasonable monthly income to live comfortably in Ukraine? Which cities would you recommend living in? You should probably call me on that, and we can talk a little bit more. It just depends on your lifestyle. It really does. I mean, I know guys that can live for, $500 a month comfortably for them. Other guys, they would need, at least a few thousand to live comfortably. So it really depends on your lifestyle, what it is you like to do. And Kiev is a great city. Odessa is a great city. Nikolai is a little smaller. It depends, again, on what you like. So you got to call and talk to me about that, I think. You guys are funny. Sly says, John's life, I'm surrounded by single women all over the world. Now that's a tough sell. Yeah, I know. But I'm also surrounded by women that I work with all over too. And they're always yelling at me. So women, they're great. I love it. Ryan says, first place I would take my bride is the nearby nudist colony. Just kidding. Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Funny guy. Greg says, we had a long Skype conversation last Saturday about how we both live. She does not understand multiple homes in different cities. She wants to learn interior design and golf. Cool. Well, if you have multiple homes in multiple cities, Greg, then she's going to need to be an interior designer. So that's going to help you. And interior design is such a cool thing in golf. Two really cool things. So that's why I like Tanya doing real estate, because I travel a lot, and by her doing real estate, that afforded her the flexibility to travel with me. So we kind of thought that out a little bit and said, yeah, that would be great, because if she had to get a job where like a 9-to-5 thing or something like that, and she only got 2 weeks a year to go, that wouldn't work very well with my lifestyle when I was traveling, like especially back before we had kids. Although when I met her, she had a 2-year-old. So we already had a child when we met, but we were able to travel with her because he wasn't in school all the time and stuff like that. And then we had another child, and that slowed us down a little bit, but we still traveled quite a bit with them. Once they got older, it got more difficult to travel, and so she could have had a different kind of job. But that real estate job, to begin with, was very, very flexible, which helped us. In interior design, I imagine would be somewhat flexible too, and much more online and all that, which would be great. And if she's golf, maybe she'd be a golf instructor down the road. I don't know. McKissick says, just out of curiosity, have you had any past clients who were into the swinger lifestyle? If so, how did it work out? Not that I can think of, to tell you the truth. So I'm not sure how that would have worked out. I don't recall much of that. James said, hold on a second here. James said, are they currently allowing us to connect through Amsterdam to Kyiv right now? Yes. As far as 2 days ago, because one of my guys from here just went through Amsterdam and got to Kyiv. So yes. Ivan says, good, next month I go. Good, Ivan. But let us know so we can help. Larry says, John mentioned that her man should help her make contact with other Ukrainian or communities near where she will live. Yeah, I think that's important, Larry, but that's not the only thing. I mean, that's good to do, but don't get stuck in this trap where you're only introducing her to Ukrainian communities, because that can be a little bit problematic too, for a lot of reasons. And if you want to call me, I don't have the time to go into it now, but you don't want to just get her stuck with the one community that, like, if she's from Colombia and just Colombians, or Ukraine, just, Eastern Europe or something like that. Brian said, I would take her to the Pacific Northwest. The mountains are very beautiful. Oh my gosh. Tanya and I took our honeymoon up through, we started like in LA, and then we drove up Highway 1, all the way up to the Russian River Valley. And my sister got us this really cool, cabin up there where we stayed for a couple days. And it was so beautiful. So beautiful. That Highway 1 on the coast, going all the way up, it goes all the way up through Washington and Oregon and all that. I mean, it's gorgeous up there. Chi-Hawk says, if you use a travel agent like Speed or Kayak, you can get more flexibility if you have to change plans. Just a helpful tip. Yeah. Melvin says, I would go around downtown Chicago and show her all the different points of interest like Buckingham Fountain, Millennium Park with the famous bean and the various museums. Tanya loved Chicago when we went there, when we were doing seminars and stuff. I mean, we stayed right downtown and she loved it. So yeah, I'm sure that whoever's going to come is going to love Chicago. And Kirk, I know he's just dying to get back there. He loves it. So yeah, Chicago is very cool. Right, Kirk? Yes. Yeah. Say yes. Yes, Kirk loves it. Ryan says, do you have tours to Russia? What is your opinion on that? We have individual, you can do a club tour there, but we don't have the group tours anymore. They've kind of all switched to the Ukraine. But I love Russia. If you want to go do a club there, it's great. It's where I met Tanya, St. Petersburg. But everything kind of, you can call me later on why, but everything switched to Ukraine. Leonard says, what does Leonard say? Gosh. Okay, coming here, guys. Hold on. I got lost here. Leonard says, how did you know I was listening? Leonard, I know everything. Don't you worry. All I need is a presenter. It would have to be me or Jane. Or Ja. I think you get my drift. Yeah, I get it. Poll answer. A very nice trip with no pressure for my lady. Grab some comfort food items and travel down to the Key West Lighthouse. Stop off there and have a picnic and watch the boats, walk along the beach. You got the idea, Andrew. You got the idea. Just be chill at first, right? Just be easy. And then let them decide what they want to do and where they want to go. We're just so anxious to show them everything and introduce them to all of our friends all at once. And it's just sensory overload for them, right? It's just too much. They're very nervous about meeting your friends, your family, right? And if you do it all at once too fast, it's too much for them. So, pick and choose who you're going to introduce them first to. And, make sure whoever you're introducing them to first is very, very on board with what you're doing and will be very, very supportive of them and welcome them and love them and all that. And if you got anybody who's like a non-believer, save them till last. Let her get her confidence built up before you start introducing them to some of the, doubtful Thomases out there. All right. Chuck says, for setting up dates during the Ukraine last year, most of the ladies were expecting the meal as part of the first date. Is that expecting the Ukraine? I prefer a coffee date as a first date. Why do the ladies show up hungry to the date? Well, Chuck, it's just kind of in the culture where on the dates you're going to go out for a meal. It doesn't have to be a soup to nuts meal or an expensive meal, but, it's just kind of more of their culture over there where they meet at a cafe. They have a little meal. They break bread a little bit, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to just do coffee, you can do that too. But, and you don't have to go to any place expensive. You really don't. Ryan says, I lost weight on my trip to Kiev. Excellent food. No reason to go to McDonald's. Absolutely not, Ryan. I hate it when the women walk into a McDonald's. I cringe. It's terrible. Len says, getting around Bangkok, don't forget the Sky Train. Almost as good as a transporter in Star Trek. Beam me up, Scotty. You're having fun tonight, aren't you, Leonard? That Sky Train is good. I mean, I took it, and Tanya and I, we went all kinds of different places, took it way out to the huge market they have, the outdoor market. We took it to all kinds of different places. The Sky Train is great transportation. All right. Mike wants to know, do Russian women think the man's money was joint and woman's money is her money, even if she made more than he did? Is it true that do Ukrainian believe this as well? I've heard that some Ukrainian women treat Western men and they, as an ATM, just want money. Generally, what do you think of different? Look, Mike, my best advice to you about that is choose wisely. My wife is amazing. We work together, and yes, she makes money, I make money, but she pays for, I don't think I've ever bought a shirt since she's been here in 23 years, or any clothes whatsoever. I mean, and she does, from her own money. I mean, she's amazing. I mean, yeah, she makes it, we put it in the bank account, and she does with what she needs to do, I do what I need to do. But I'll tell you, from day one when I met Tanya, she was, how shall we say, frugal. She worked really, really hard for her money. And it was important to her. And she's no fool when it comes to that. And, she would be very protective of me. So I remember once we were in a cab in St. Petersburg, and the driver figured out I was American, and all of a sudden he started doubling the rate. She told him to stop the cab, started yelling at him. I don't know what she said because it was in Russian, and we had to get out. And she slammed the door. And she was pissed that he was going to double the rate. It was probably only a matter of a couple dollars. But she was really upset, and he kept saying, well, what do you care? He can afford it. He's American. And she's like, screw you, and slammed the door on him, right? And to this day, 23 years later, she won't go out hardly at all unless she can get a 2-for-1 coupon someplace, or she goes to Groupon to find some kind of a percentage off for the meal or something like that. I mean, she'll, and that's cool for me because I think that she's looking out for us. It's not just about, you're an ATM machine, I'm just going to ching, 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 ching. She doesn't think that way. And I know a lot of women that don't. Now, there are some women that you can find in Russia, in Colombia, in the United States, everywhere, that don't think that way, that will treat you as an ATM machine. So my best advice to you is not to generalize like crazy and to choose wisely. But many of these women from the cultures that we go to do have to work very hard for what they have and do have a high appreciation for money and will be frugal and whatnot. And some won't. But you have to find that. That's up to you. You have to take responsibility for that. Okay? All right. Let's see. Leonard says, a wild area of Phuket you refer to is called Patong. You may or may not wish to mention this. Well, I'll mention it, but, it's fine with me. But just be careful if you go there, because it is very wild and very different. You may want to experience it. Tanya and I went, we looked, and we're like, okay, this is very odd, and we left. But it is something that you may want to experience just once. I'm not sure I'd go back, but it was interesting. It's just a different part of culture. I wouldn't bring children there. Let's put it that way. Robert says, is there a big difference between Slavic women from different countries? Example, Ukrainian women with Belarusian, Russian women. I can't talk, it's getting late. No, there's really not that much of a difference. So I will say Belarus and Ukraine, there is a difference only because in Belarus, it is more of an authoritarian government, a little more of a dictatorship happening there. And it's almost like going back more in time there. So there is a little bit more of a difference in that respect. And you can see the difference when you go to both countries. I was just talking to a gentleman today who lives in Belarus and has dated many women there, but he's going to Ukraine as well to date. And so, it's not that much of a difference. And I would say the differences between the women are going to be more a function of the size of the city than anything else. Thus, if you go to a big capital city like Moscow or like Kiev, those women are going to be a little more westernized, a little more bigger city, a little more cityfied, so to speak. Whereas if you go to a smaller city, someplace like, say, Nikolaev or someplace like Kherson or Sumy, then the women are going to have a little bit more of a smaller city attitude. Just like United States. Think about it, guys. You go to New York City, you go to Los Angeles, you go to San Francisco, the women are going to be a little bit different than if you go to Denver. Even Denver is a little bit of a bigger city, obviously. Say you go to someplace, I don't know, like name a small city, right? So some small city, it's going to be a little bit of a different culture, all right? I drove through Mississippi and went to some of the small cities there. I thought I was in a totally different country. I mean, I loved the southern hospitality and the difference that I experienced there. I really hadn't been to that part of the country much, but it was so different than going to New York, right? It just is. And that's what makes the United States so cool. I lived in a tiny little town in Hereford, Texas. Okay, the people in Hereford, Texas are much different than the people in Phoenix, Arizona even. As Phoenix is somewhat different than New York. That's just how it is. And that's how it is over there too. All right. Colombia would have nonstop flights of American men if we knew half as much about them as we do the Ukrainian women. You know, Ryan, we got to do more about Colombia. We're going to have Maria on, I think, to help host this show. But we do talk about it, but we don't talk about it anywhere as much as we should, because we do talk a little bit more about Ukraine, because a lot of you guys calling in are talking more about Ukraine. But I would love to do a little bit more about Latin America, about Peru, about Costa Rica, about Colombia, about all the different cities there, the culture, all that. And we got to do more of that, and we will. We do have a show dedicated to Philippines and more things Asian, and we got to talk more about China. And I mean, there's so much more to talk about, but so little time. David says, I spent 2 weeks in Moscow, a lady I thought I would marry. After 1 week, I really wanted to leave, but was trapped there because I could not speak or read Russian. If I bring a lady here for marriage, first thing I would do is give her an envelope with taxi and airplane phone numbers along with a debit card and travel cash. Hopefully she never uses it, but she should never feel trapped here. David, I totally agree with you. And that's the thing I talk about being independent. You don't want them to feel trapped or beholden to you or, just dependent on you. You want them to feel as independent as possible, that they aren't stuck here, if things aren't going well. They can do whatever they want. And I can tell you some stories about that as well. If you ever want to call in, we're totally out of time now. We're already way over time. But I can tell tons of stories about that, and it's important. So I think that's great that you would do that. But John, women want to be weak, and they want the man to be the man. David, don't misunderstand weakness for independence. Okay, women want the man to be the man. Excuse me. Yeah, women want the man to be the man. Women want to be the woman. But that doesn't mean they want to be dependent on you for everything. That doesn't mean that they want their identity to be mixed up with you. There's a total difference in that. Tanya is extremely, extremely independent. And Tanya actually works and does all kinds of things, but she still wants me to be the man. She still wants me to guide the household, to be the one that is in charge. She wants her input, and she has total equal footing, but she still wants me to be the man. But she is independent. It's a total difference. That doesn't mean that they want to be submissive little slaves just because they want to be this weak woman. No, they want to be a feminine. I don't think I said weak. They want to be a feminine woman. They want femininity. They want all that. But they also, they're very strong. Ukrainian women can be and are very strong. Colombian women can be and are very strong. But they want to be feminine at the same time. Don't confuse that. It's a big mistake. All right. Sly says, Tom Brady and Matthew McConaughey, two of the most eligible bachelors in the world, choose Latinas. They know what's up. I like that, yeah. And look at Modern Family, that show. That was great. Okay, last couple questions here, and then we got to go, or you know how bad the union's going to be on my butt after this thing goes this far over. We're going to get big trouble here. Jerry says, which city should I be looking to go to the Ukraine if I live in a smaller city, about 275,000, with not very many big city options for entertainment, shopping, etc. Seattle is probably the closest, but it's about a 3.5 hour drive. Also, I own a smaller with high quality amenities, 600 square foot house, and not one of those 3,000 square foot mansions going up around the edges of our city. I'm not looking to paint anyone into a materialistic light, but rather say I like to live a simple and debt-free, and I'm hoping at least some would be okay and actually supportive, enthusiastic of that way of thinking and living. Jerry, that you're preaching to the choir here. That all comes down to being realistic, to talking to the woman that you're meeting and showing them your lifestyle, showing them where you live. And you will find women that are interested in that, or they're absolutely fine with living in a smaller, more rural area. The women that want to live in downtown Manhattan, they want to have a credit card to go everywhere they want to go and, more higher maintenance and all that, fine. They're not for you. But for this woman who likes to live in the area that you live, that can appreciate the beauty and serenity and the different things that come from living a lifestyle like that, having not a lot of economic pressures, living debt-free and all that, that's fine. There's plenty of women out there that would like that. The job that you have is conveying that to them, finding the women that are comfortable with that, and then, making them fall in love with you and you falling in love with them. But just being honest about who you are. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It sounds like a great lifestyle. Nothing wrong with that. I think that's great. So just tell them who it is you are and be proud of it. And you'll find women that will be more than happy to live that lifestyle. Okay? All right. And Dave says, John, just booked my flight and hotel to Odessa for the 24th. Cross your fingers and hope for the best. Oh my gosh. Call me, Dave, please. You're going in like a week, a little over a week here. So yeah, call me. But that's great. You're going to love Odessa. It's wonderful. And the guy that I was just talking about, he'll be there by then, so you can meet him. He's a great guy. But yeah, that's great. I'm glad you're going. So we will help you, and you'll love Odessa. It's fantastic. And July, what a cool time to be there. And go to Arcadia, just be careful. Watch out for the restaurant scams and the stuff like that. Call me and talk to me about those things, and I'll get you in touch with our office, and they will give you advice on which restaurants to go to, which ones not to go to. Because Odessa, you got to watch for that a little bit more than other places, even in the Ukraine. So be careful with that, okay? All right, guys, that is it for tonight. Oh my gosh, we're way past time, but you know what? It was very, very pleasurable to talk about all these things. These are the things that are real. I mean, this, it is what it is, guys. If you're going to do this, I talked to a guy today who was great because, you know, there was someone else that was whining about, oh, well, if I go, you know, this woman might take advantage of me, this might happen. And this guy's like, you know, I get taken advantage of right here in the United States. I mean, it's going to happen wherever you go, but you know, you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. And from time to time, someone might take advantage of someone. And unfortunately, there's men that take advantage of women too. You know, anything can happen, but if you listen to what we say, if you listen to the staff when you go over, you can alleviate a lot of issues that can come up in just regular dating. Even here in the U.S., if you apply some of the rules that we tell you, you can alleviate a lot of issues that come up here in the U.S. from people that I talk to, right? It's an amazing opportunity, one that you should avail yourself to if you can, and it will really open your eyes to what's out there that's so much different than just dating here locally. Domestic dating, there's nothing wrong with that, but when you go internationally, you see a whole different opportunity. You're dealing with totally different cultures, totally different people, and it really does open your eyes to a whole new world. So I really hope that you'll avail yourself to this opportunity. Don't spend a lot of time writing letters or doing chat, okay? Just don't do it. You don't have to do it. You're going to go over and you're going to meet in person, hopefully. That's the best thing that you can do. All right. All right, guys, it's been wonderful talking to you tonight. We are doing a Wednesday night show with Rana, and please tune in on Wednesday night if you have any interest at all in the Philippines. It's an amazing show. She does a great job, and she's a lot better looking than I am. So it's much better to watch her. You'll get a lot of great information, especially about all things Filipino. And she can talk a little bit about what's going on there with the COVID situation as well. All right? So until next time, guys, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We'll see you next Monday.
Hello, guys. My name is Ola, and today I will tell you a little about our religions and what is ladies' attitude to this issue. Ukraine is a country with long and interesting history, and historically it happens that we are Orthodox. Possible you know that Volodymyr baptized Ukraine because he wanted to marry Anna, the daughter of King of Byzantia. You see, love changed the world. And I believe that if you want to change your life, you are here in Ukraine looking for your future wife. Right now we are near our office, and to find us it's very easy because we are located at Independence Square and subway of Maidan Nezalezhnosti. In any way, if you are in Ukraine, we will help you to find us. To find our office very easy, you can look at this McDonald's, remember it please. And if you see this McDonald's, you should understand that you are in the right way. Very close to our office there are a lot of nice restaurants. One Georgian restaurant I will show you right now. If you have very active schedule, you're very lucky because very close to our office there is a Georgian restaurant where you can eat very good tasty food. But if you have next meeting in 2 hours, you can just change location, go to Sushi-ya and to eat some sushi. Then possible you have third date, and then you can go to next place, which we will show you right now. And there you can try meals from our national food, but a little from the south of Ukraine. But I'm sure you will like it in any way.